Have you ever wondered why NATO military vessels have arrived in the West Philippine Sea? Or perhaps you're curious about what it means for China. In recent months, there have been several intriguing developments in the West Philippine Sea. A NATO aircraft carrier, the FS Charles de Gaulle, staged a bilateral exercise with the Philippines, marking an unprecedented stopover in Subic Bay and Manila. This exercise aimed to enhance interoperability and defense capabilities between the two nations, highlighting the growing international focus on maritime security in the region. But what exactly does this mean for China, a major player in the region? Could this presence of NATO vessels be a harbinger of trouble for the Asian superpower? And if so, why? It's important to note that the South China Sea has been a hotbed of tension for some time now, with territorial disputes and issues of sovereignty causing friction between China and its neighboring countries. So could the arrival of NATO vessels in the region be a sign of escalating tensions? On the other side of the coin, what does this mean for the Philippines? The country has had its share of run-ins with China over territorial disputes in the West Philippine Sea. Could the arrival of NATO vessels and the strengthening of defense capabilities with allied nations be a protective measure in the face of potential Chinese aggression? But then again, could it be a mere show of solidarity or perhaps something more strategic in nature? These are all critical questions that we will delve into as we explore this topic further. To answer these questions, we first need to understand the current geopolitical context in the region. Picture this: the West Philippine Sea and the South China Sea, vast and seemingly tranquil bodies of water, teeming with maritime life. But beneath the surface, there's a complex web of territorial disputes and strategic interests. These regions are more than just bodies of water. They are nerve centers of global politics and economy. Imagine a giant chessboard where nations move their pieces, vying for influence and control. That's what the West Philippine Sea and the South China Sea represent. Several countries, including China, the Philippines, Vietnam, and Malaysia, have staked their claims, each backed by historical, legal, and strategic arguments. The stakes are high, with rich fisheries, potential oil and gas reserves, and crucial shipping lanes on the line. China, a major player, has pursued an assertive policy, building artificial islands and military outposts, and asserting its claim over the vast majority of the South China Sea. This has ruffled feathers, not just regionally but globally, leading to escalating tensions. Recently, a French aircraft carrier, FS Charles de Gaulle, conducted a bilateral exercise with the Philippines in the South China Sea. This exercise aimed to enhance interoperability and defense capabilities between the two nations, marking an unprecedented stopover in Subic Bay and Manila. Meanwhile, the Philippine Navy welcomed the deployment of a NATO task force to the Indo-Pacific region, viewing it as global support against China's assertive stance. But here's the catch. The presence of NATO forces in the region is a new variable in this geopolitical equation. The NATO task force, including an aircraft carrier from Great Britain and military forces from various NATO countries, is a show of solidarity with the Philippines and a clear message to China. Now, why is this a potential cause for concern for China, and can the presence of these vessels make the Philippines more secure in case of a Chinese invasion? Now that we have the context, let's delve deeper into why the arrival of NATO vessels might be problematic for China. So why could NATO's presence in the West Philippine Sea be a cause for concern for China? Well, let's think about this. China has long been asserting territorial claims in the South China Sea, a vital international maritime route rich in resources. NATO's presence in these contested waters, however, could throw a wrench into China's ambitions. Imagine you're playing a game of chess. You've been carefully planning your moves, slowly gaining control of the board. Suddenly, a new player joins the game, disrupting your carefully laid plans. That's exactly what NATO's presence could mean for China. It introduces a new, powerful player into an already complex geopolitical chess game. NATO's deployment of military vessels in the West Philippine Sea isn't just a show of force. It's a clear message to China that the international community is closely watching its actions in the region. This could potentially limit China's maneuverability, forcing it to rethink its strategies. The presence of NATO vessels also symbolizes international solidarity against China's territorial claims. It's not just one country standing up against China, but an alliance of global powers. This collective resistance could pose a significant challenge for China, making it harder to assert its dominance in the region. The arrival of NATO vessels could have significant implications for the Philippines, but does it necessarily mean enhanced security against potential Chinese aggression? The presence of NATO forces in the West Philippine Sea is a double-edged sword for the Philippines. On one hand, it serves as a counterbalance to China's increasing assertiveness in the region. It signifies global support for the Philippines' stance and may dissuade China from taking aggressive actions. It also enhances the Philippines' defense capabilities by offering an opportunity for joint maritime activities and cooperation with NATO allies. However, on the other hand, it could inadvertently place the Philippines in the crosshairs of a larger geopolitical conflict. With NATO forces on its doorstep, the country could become a potential battleground should tensions escalate between the Western alliance and China. This is a scenario that the Philippines, with its limited military capabilities, would want to avoid. Furthermore, while the NATO forces provide a sense of security, it might also lead to complacency. The Philippines must not forget to continue strengthening its own defense capabilities and fostering alliances with other regional powers. Relying solely on NATO might not be a sustainable strategy, especially considering the differing national interests among the NATO members. There's also the question of what happens when the NATO vessels leave. Will the Philippines be left in a more vulnerable position, having poked the Chinese dragon? Or will the show of unity and strength deter China from pursuing aggressive actions in the future? We've explored some potential implications, but one question remains. Can the Philippines rely on NATO to protect its interests? We've come a long way, but there's still one question left. Can the Philippines really rely on NATO to protect its interests? It's a question that's not easily answered. NATO's presence in the West Philippine Sea signifies a clear message to China, but it also reveals the strategic importance of the Philippines in the broader geopolitical landscape. NATO's own interests cannot be overlooked. The alliance was created with a primary focus on safeguarding the freedom and security of its member countries through political and military means. As such, its decision to intervene in the West Philippine Sea may be more about containing China's growing influence than about the Philippines' security per se. The Philippines, on the other hand, is in a strategically important location, sitting at the crossroads of the Pacific and Indian Oceans. Its geopolitical significance is further amplified by the fact that it is a major player in the South China Sea dispute, a hotbed of tension that has the potential to disrupt global maritime trade. But what does this all mean for the Philippines? Can the country truly depend on NATO for its security, or is it merely a pawn in a larger game of power politics? These are questions that only time will answer. However, one thing is certain. The arrival of NATO military vessels in the West Philippine Sea has changed the dynamics of the region. It has sent a powerful message to China and has boosted the confidence of the Philippines in standing up to its giant neighbor. Don't miss out on future explorations and discoveries. Hit subscribe and ring the bell to stay updated with our new content. Your journey of wonder continues with every video. Stay connected and engaged on social media. Continue the conversation, follow us. Thank you for being a part of the Have You Ever Wondered community. Keep wondering, keep discovering. Until next time.